Hello, stream. Hi, guys. How are we doing tonight? I hope we're doing absolutely lovely. I'm doing quite fantastic. Hello, Skitty, Willow, Zen, Ellipti. It's lovely to see you guys. Skitty, I hope you have a safe flight. We're on chapter 42 today, which is crazy, because this fic is 45 chapters long. We're getting close, guys. We're getting so close. It's crazy. Hi, Lunar. Glad to see you can make it. Hello, Duality. You can't send me that art and then just hello, stream. Yeah, I'm like putting on a face right now because I'm emotional. Hello, Sino. Hi, Crenshaw. How are we all doing today? Anybody do anything interesting? I went to the doctor to get my blood work done, and it went quite smoothly, so I'm very happy. And did some running, I did some animating, overall solid stuff. I was on a plane, and you're about to be on another one? Or are you... did you just get off one? I see. Instead of doing schoolwork like I should, I've been writing in a language from a TV show, so that's cool. Ooh, what language? I'm assuming it's a fake made-up language, and not like a TV... It'd be funny if it was like Spanish, but you like refer to it as like a language from a TV show instead of like the actual name of the language. But I'm assuming it's like a fictional language. We're on our layover. Ah, I see. Ooh, Kirch. How do you say it? Kirch? From Shadow and Bone. My friend is a very, very big fan of Shadow and Bone. I'm not a huge... I watched season 1, and I read the first Six of Crows book. And I haven't really dipped too much into season 2 because I've been so busy. But that's super cool. That is super, super, super cool. Oh my goodness. So I'm gonna... we'll wait a few more minutes, and then I will... I didn't read the summaries because I've kind of... not that I've given up on writing them, I've just been not super motivated to write them, so I'll kind of skim... I skimmed the last chapter, yesterday. Or not yesterday, today. The chapter from yesterday, I skimmed it just now. And so I'll give a brief on that. Yeah, I've been so fucking busy, it's like not even in my head to do summaries. This is like my little bit of time that I get to relax. So that, and I've been rereading YWDMP, but that's like for me, that's like my little guy. I'm on chapter... where's my phone? Chapter like 9. I'm like in the middle of chapter 9, I think, of YWDMP again. And I was imagining, and I talked about this in the Undecorded server, I know for a fact I finished chapter 8, because chapter 8 is when Karkat is, like, running all over the place, and trying to figure out what happened with Vicaire. And I very vividly, I was, like, laying in bed as I was reading this, like, last night, and I could, like, close my eyes and perfectly picture the, like, Ace Attorney music like when you're like investigating between court cases, of like Karkat like running around, like first he talks to like Dirk and Roxy, and then he goes and talks to Porum, and then he goes talks to all, and he's like going to everybody, and then he finally like goes to Nepeta, and he has all the evidence that he built up, and like Nepeta has like the psyche locks that appear in Ace Attorney, where it's like and like Karkat has to try to break them, but he doesn't have enough evidence to break them, because obviously Nepeta won't you know, share about what's actually going on. But I like very vividly like pictured it in my mind, and so I think when I'm done with the semester, I think it would be fun to try to like recreate it if I could. I don't know. I'm not crazy like you know, a stickler to it, but I think it'd be a fun experiment if I maybe tried to do it. I started reading The Storm is Terrifying, If the Calm is All You've Ever Known. Which one is that one? Is that the one with that bro is a terrorist? It's actually in my AO3 list. Is that the one I'm thinking of? It is Terrorist, bro. Gotcha. I got... Oh, wow. I got 32 chapters into it. I need to finish it. The only thing that kind of bothered me, and maybe if I point this out... if I point this out, maybe you'll start seeing it, and it'll start bothering you. I realized how often Dave curses, or like curse words are used in the writing, and it kind of started to bother me. I think, like, I don't mind if I curse all the time, like I curse like a fucking sailor, but I think sometimes it can be a little bit late. It can be an indicator of not lazy writing, but just not being kind of creative enough with the prose. And so it bothered me a little bit where I just kept reading it, especially with Dave's POVs, where it was just constantly him cursing in, you know, like every other sentence. And I was like, I don't know. I generally don't have a big issue with it, but that def bothers me with some characters and effects. Yeah, it's less that like I can totally see Dave being like that, but it's more so when I notice it, where it's like, if I start noticing how many curses there are, and also Dave is like more creative with his language than that. Like if Dave is rambling, he's like very he's a fucking dictionary. Like he's a thesaurus a lot of the times. Yeah, you get me, Skitty. You gotta get their mannerisms down with how they use swears, absolutely. Yeah, not the main meat, yeah. So I think that's like the one thing that kind of bothered me with that fic in particular. Which I do want to finish, because I got to like chapter 32 and I just haven't gotten around to finishing it. But sometimes if it icks me enough, I'll kind of dip out. What are we talking about? We're talking about another fic that Skitty brought up, called what the fuck was it called? The storm is terrifying if the calm is all you've ever known. That's the biggest difference between Karkat and Dave, to be honest. Karkat used a lot more curses in the body. Yeah, I agree with you. Slight switch of topic, but I finished Act 5, Act 1, and started Act 5, Act 2. The kids have returned. Yay! Yay! Kids are back. It's so funny, because once you get into later Homestuck, it's like, yeah, I'm on Act 6, Act 2, Act 3, Intermission 1, and it's like, oh, yeah, I know exactly where you are. Or some shit like that. And I'm not kidding, that's like an actual, maybe not that exact amount of numbers, or that exact order, but it does get that convoluted, and it's pretty amusing. There was somebody that did like, hold on, I'm stuck. I wonder if I'll be able to find this. I'll be able, will I be able to find this? Yeah. So if you guys know Deltarune, this is what somebody made as like a joke. This is supposed to be like parodying Homestuck. Yeah. leaked Deltarune chapter structure. Yeah, Lifty, be ready for fucking chapter 6, intermission 5, intermission 4. I'm waiting for Toby to pull in Act 5, Act 1, yeah. So yeah, it gets funny in the later acts. Because isn't this actually, like, this isn't, I mean, this is parody, obviously, but I'm pretty sure this is how Act 6 looks. Like, isn't it this convoluted? Am I crazy? Or maybe is this a bit excessive? I don't remember if it's this excessive, but also it's Homestuck, so I don't, I think this is it. I think this is how it is, because obviously Act 7 is the last act. It literally is. It literally is. It is that bad. It is that bad. Oh, I don't think it has that many intermissions, does it? I'm not sure. I'm not gonna be prepared for Act 6. Ellipti, to be fair, to give you some context, Act 6 is like the last half of Homestuck. It goes like the word count increases exponentially, right? So when people talk about Act 5 and Act 6, like Act 5 is like 1/3 of Homestuck. Act 6 is like a half of Homestuck. It's like half of the comic, because Act 6 starts. When does Act 6 start? Homestuck Act 6 start. Act 6, yeah, Act 6 starts on page 4110 and ends on page 8119. So it's literally half the comic. Yeah. Yeah, it's 4010 pages. It's taking me so long to get where I am. I'm not going to be done with anytime soon. With Homestuck. Yeah, Homestuck's fucking long. And also, like, some of those pages, like, because some pages, especially early on, are like just little things, right? Little blurbs, and then you get to some pages in like Act, 5 or 6 that are like whole ass video games. In where you're like walking around and like talking with people and like dialogue trees and fucking like whole there's like shit going on, and it's like one page can take you like an hour. Not the Dancester walkarounds. Yeah, fucking Openbound. I will say, when I got to Openbound, and I think my friend is kind of sad, but we were like, I was kind of rushing through. I rushed through Openbound a little bit. I wish I had taken more time to get to like understand the Dancestors as characters, but I kind of also didn't give a shit about them because I was already feeling so overwhelmed by how many characters there were, because they're like, Ellipti, this is kind of, I'm going to talk vaguely, but just be wary. I'm not going to say explicit spoilers, but like the idea of like, you have 12 trolls, and then it's like, okay, we're going to do even more. We're gonna just, you have the kids, you have the alpha and the beta kids, and then you have the fucking trolls, and then you have the Dancestors, and then you have the ancestors, and it's like, I can't remember all these people, I can't remember all these names, and I was like, I was like losing my mind. I was like, how are these guys relevant? And they honestly aren't really that relevant. They're fun characters, but I don't remember them being that crazy important. Wait, they uploaded 2 days ago? Oh my god, what? I was following Let's Read Homestuck. Oh my god, they uploaded 6 days ago. What? Oh my god. I didn't realize they were still going. Holy shit, the return. It'll be, you know what? It'll be a year later. It'll be a year later that we get another one. It's so crazy they've been doing this for so long, and this is still, they're still only up to like chapter, or to page 5,600 or something. I need to subscribe to them. I don't know why I'm not subbed. That is wild. I'm so surprised they kept going. Yeah. So their last video, or the last time that they did it, this was 10 months ago. This was their last one. 6 days ago. Wow. Look at that. That is crazy. All right. Okay, let's hop into the summary. Enough Homestuck talk. No, I guess we're gonna just do more Homestuck. So it's all Homestuck all the way down here. Also, see you, Skitty. Hope you have a safe time back, or wherever you're doing a layover. I don't remember actually what a layover is. I assume have a safe flight because you're about to go on a plane. Okay, so the long and short of it, of last chapter, was we figure out, oh shit, Jade is the daughter of the, or kind of is related, not the daughter, but is related to some queens of winter, to fake queens of winter. And she's essentially royalty now. And so they get safe passage through winter into the fucking through winter to the volcano that they need to go to, and they hook Karkat up to the car, and they hook everybody up into the car, and they fucking plunge through lava into hell. And on the other hand, Dave has been vibing, and by vibing I mean he's dead. So Dave died, though I think that was chapter 40. I don't know if that was chapter 40 or 41. But Dave is dead, and with Hal, well, Dave's not dead. He's almost dead. He's pretty close to dead though. And he's hanging out with Hal. And by hanging out, I mean Hal is hauling Dave's corpse around, and we don't really know anything else other than that. And that's where we're at. He's dead-ish. Yeah, he's like 90... What did Aradia say? 99.9999% dead or something. So he's kind of haunting his body. He's vibing. Alright. So we are on chapter 42. It was 9 nines, I think. So 99.999999999% dead. Essentially dead, but not quite. Yes. Essentially, when Solux, if Solux in theory died, Dave would die, and they need that to happen because. So if Dave had created Solux only with the rib, then Dave would probably be permadead right now. But Dave technically gave up more than just the rib to create Solux, or at least put more into Solux than just the rib. So there's like just enough of a tether to keep him alive. Duality. All right, let's hop into the chapter. This is chapter 42, a near-death experience. We're doing about 15k words today. So we're in it for about 2 hours or so. That's usually the estimate that I give. And yeah, let's get going. The journey through the lava is crushing as the pressure builds, and you're very glad that you have June inside the car, equalizing that out for everyone inside. You fly, or perhaps swim, through the lava until you feel that you can't take it anymore. Just as you hit that point, the lava gives way to sudden gravity and falling. You'd evidently put a lot of power into going through planes of reality, and so hell comes at you eye-wateringly fast. You get a flash of a distant wall and beat your wings as hard as you can in that direction, and then it's just speed, crashing, dirt, and pain. Every part of your body hurts, and you let yourself just sprawl groaning on the dusty floor as you try to blink the stars from your eyes. You suck a breath in, choke on the dust a little, and press your palms to the ground. Something horrible in your back shifts, and you hear the sound of broken glass. Maybe you'll just stay where you are for a moment. So you may have hit the ground, and it makes sense that since you were hauling a car, you may have had the car hit you too. A magic car filled with multiple people. No wonder you hurt. With an impressive stream of cursing, you push yourself up onto your knees as pain lances through your back. You're pretty sure you have a license plate inverted pressed into the skin of your lower back, like a DMV issued tramp stamp. Is there a non-derogatory way to say that? Probably, but you'll save that for when you're not quite in so much pain. You straighten your wings out and stare as the broken panes of feathers fall out and shatter on the floor, leaving new ones to start growing in their place. Looking around makes your neck crack in a deeply unpleasant way, and you're more than a little unnerved to see that there's no car anywhere around. For that matter, you can't see a wall either. If the wall marks the barrier between hell and the outside of it, then what's out there could go on for forever. Your breath hitches as terror seeps into you. The idea of being stuck, of being lost in an infinite nothingness is horrifying in a way that leaves you breathless. You're all alone, and you don't even know if flying out of here is possible. Even if it is, it might lead to Hell's forces spotting you and killing you. You're stuck. Stuck here. As you try to force yourself not to hyperventilate, it occurs to you. You're not alone anymore, abandoned by your maker and an uncaring god. No, you have a god. You don't know how to pray to Rose. You don't know how to pray to Rose. All you have of her is this vow you made that glows on your wrist. You grab your wrist with your other hand and press it to your face, using the excuse to close your eyes so you don't have to see the terrifying infinity around you. How would you reach out to her? How could you ask her to notice you and save you? You don't know how this works, and she's new to it too. You can't expect her to know how to find you, but she has to, so you try to have faith. Light flows through you. For a moment, every vein in your body is like a fiber optic cable, and in a flash, you're elsewhere, pulled through space at her command. You open your eyes to Rose standing by the car, the wall behind her, and like a drowning man seeing a life raft, you throw yourself at Rose and hold on tight. Carcat, are you okay? What, your wings look awful. Doesn't that hurt? Carcat, Rose asks, and one of her hands touches your wings. You wince as a shattered feather falls out of her touch, and a new one starts to grow. It's pretty rough to too far beyond the wall. We lost him the first time we hit the ground, so he was further out, I think, Solix explains. What do you mean by rough? Rose asks, and you press your ear a little tighter to her shoulder so you can hear and feel the way her voice rumbles through her chest. I mean, there's a whole lot of nothing out there. It's just endless void, and it's really easy to get lost. Believe me, I tried leaving that way before, Solix says, and you squeeze Rose a little tighter. Oh, Rose says softly. Yeah, Solix says back. You hear him move a little closer, and his tail curls around your knee. Sorry for hitting you with the car, but that was entirely not my fault this time. It doesn't normally hurt that bad, but you were pulling us pretty fast, Solix says, and you think the way he's touching your back is more to comfort you than to check for any car-related injuries. You're not alone. If you open your eyes, you can see the wall. You're fine. A shudder runs through you, giving something like a sound of wind chimes from your wings. Sorry, you mutter, and let Rose go. I don't know what you're talking about. Are you alright from the car hitting you? Rose asks and lets you go. It hurt, but I'm fine. Are you all okay? You ask and look around. Surprisingly, the car seems completely fine, and thankfully everyone that was in it looks physically fine, although a little shaken from being in a crash like that. Well, except June. She looks ready to ask if you can all go again. We're fine, Roxy answers you. Oh, good. That's good, you say, slightly shaky. Now that we're here, it's time to find Dave, Rose says, and reaches into her bag. She pulls out a small chess piece. You remember this. It drew closer to Dave's one, right? You used it to get out of winter before until you forgot who Rose was. It starts moving slowly across her palm in the direction of the wall. That's only going to show you where Dave's stuff is. There's no way Bro didn't take everything from him, but it will probably show us close to where he's being kept. It'll be helpful, just... Solix hesitates. Just? June prompts. I say we find Matuna first, since we're already outside where he lives. He'll have a better chance of knowing what the situation is. If Latula can get away to tell him anything, she will. Also, Matuna's powerful enough to want on our side. I'm not as helpful as usual right now, Solix suggests. Matuna's family, I want to find him, Kanaya agrees. How do we find him? If hell changes shape and size all the time, and our only clue is that he lives along the wall, then we could circle it forever and not find him, Roxy says with a frown, clearly approaching the situation like it's an academic problem and not the very real situation that you're in right now. The best method of transportation... Hold on. Solix grins. He steps onto the hood of the car and then up onto the roof. You watch as he draws in a deep, deep breath and then brings his fingers to his mouth and whistles incredibly loud. Solix waits and listens, turning his head this way and that until you finally start to hear a building sound off to your right. Solix jumps off of that side of the car and steps away from your group with an excited bounce to his step. Since Solix has got off the car, you follow him around to that side of the vehicle. With it not blocking your view, you can see just how much attention Beck is paying Solux. His ears are pricked up high, and everything about his posture is alert. Slowly, you turn your face to the direction that Solux had gone off in, and you make out the roaring, pounding, and ever-building sound coming towards you. Appearing through the dust and haze of the darkness beyond the wall, you see monsters. Some of them are several stories high, at least, but some look bigger still than that. Some have bony plates that cover their bodies, others have venomous, green porcupine-style quills. A few of them are even on fire. Most of them have more than one head, and are all barking in a deep and terrifying pitch. Solux doesn't look wary at all. He looks like a kid who's been given a mountain of presents, and his glee only goes up when one giant hellhound tackles him to the floor and opens a nightmare mouth full of teeth and fire. You stare in shock as it licks Solux from the tip of his toes to the finest point of his horn all in one swipe, and what's more, Solux is actually giggling in delight. Other hellhounds are snuffling at him and shoving each other away to also greet him. They look so terrifying until you look past the multiple nightmare heads and see all those eagerly wagging tails. The sound of a camera shutter makes you look around, and you spot that June is quite happily taking pictures of all of this, and she flashes you a grin when she sees you've noticed. Solux finally manages to get to his feet, even though the hellhounds have licked his hair into all sorts of dumb directions. He looks genuinely happy, and you can't find it in yourself to tease him about it. He catches the face of one hellhound with a hand and snuggles up to it. These guys will take us to wherever Matuna is. They can navigate this place no problem. They bend space just like Beck does, Solux explains. On the topic of Beck, you see that a few of the hellhounds have taken an interest in him, sniffing at him curiously. Pleasingly, Beck seems just as curious as they are, and there's no fighting or snapping at each other at all. You wonder if Beck's parents are here too, and if they'd even recognize him. After all, you suppose Beck's situation isn't that different from Jade's. He was taken off to Jake's Island too. Karkat, put the car away, Solux commands you, waving his hand vaguely at the car. What did your last servant die of? You snort. Not doing what I said, clearly, Solux retorts immediately, and flashes you a grin that you hate, but also find irritatingly endearing. Still, you'll do what he said, because you don't want to leave the car here, and you're the only one that can do that. You won't look happy about it, though. You go back to the car and put it back in your chest, even though you're keeping your eye on the large, multi-headed hellhound that's currently sniffing back. Jade is carefully petting its muzzle, and given what you've seen, you shouldn't be nervous about that, but you are. So, shoot you. You care about your friends. You'd rather not see them chomped by a big hellhound. Solux commands a few of the less spiky hellhounds to lay on their bellies, so that your friends can climb on their backs. Jade is more than eager to climb on a hellhound that's shown an interest in her, but as soon as she goes to do so, Beck starts barking frantically at her. What? We gotta go, Jade tells him, and tries to climb on again. Beck growls, his hackles raising, and then there's a flash of green as he barks. His body changes, just like it did when he stole the pizza before. He's still not as big as the other hellhounds, but more than enough to ride on, and with 2 extra heads this time. Beck! Jade gasps, running her hands through his snowy white fur. She swings up onto his back in one smooth movement, and Beck seems far happier about this. You guess he didn't want Jade riding on any other hellhound. Weird territorial creature, but whatever. You fly up and land on the back of one of the hellhounds, carefully tucking your wings away as you settle into place. You grasp 2 handfuls of deep red fur, and hope that you can hold on without pulling on this nice hellhound's fur. Okay, Solux is cut off by an ear-splitting, loud sound that seems to come from somewhere far above. It sounds like metal sliding into metal, like the world's largest padlock snapping shut, followed by bolts ramming home. The cacophony rings out everywhere for several long seconds until it finally quiets. What the fuck was that? You ask in alarm. I've never heard that before, Solux says with a clear concern. A sealing spell for this whole plane, Roxy says as she looks up. Sealing? As in we're stuck here? You ask. That's definitely not good. They're stuck in here with us, June whispers, making Gyu, Jade, Rose, and Solux all groan at her. For real though, I don't think you can shut a whole plane off like that. People have to come and go. This is an afterlife. You've got to let souls in and whatever, June adds seriously. You shouldn't shut a whole afterlife plane off because of all that. You still technically can if you're powerful enough, Terezi corrects her. Bro did it. Does he know we're here? Is he trapping us? Shit, Solux mutters and glances around in clear paranoia. I don't think that's it. I just have a feeling. But this would explain why we absolutely had to go through winter. If we hadn't, then we wouldn't have made it before hell closed, Rose says. So it was all meant to happen this way then? Does that make hell closing a good thing or a bad thing? Just because something is going to happen doesn't mean that it's going to turn out well for you, does it? You don't think it's because he knows we're here? If not that, then why? Solux demands. Why don't you tell us? Walk us through the possibilities, Terezi instructs him. Maybe he heard we were coming here, so he's trying to lock us out, but I don't know who would have told him if he brought everyone back here. It's not like any god would talk to him, and if heaven had wanted to stop us, I think they'd have fought us themselves rather than tipping Bro off. Not that I think he'd have ever trusted them, Solix says with a frown. So if not that, then what? Terezi prompts him. I mean, keeping people in, I don't know who he'd... Solix freezes. Could Dave have escaped, you ask? If Dave escaped to Earth and we're stuck in here, I will scream, June warns you all. If he'd got out, then it wouldn't be locked, but if he's escaped from Bro but still in hell, then that makes sense. Maybe without being connected to me, it's harder to find him, or his time powers make him harder for Bro to track. It's gotta be to keep Dave in, which means he's escaped. Oh, shit, this is amazing! Solix is practically vibrating with glee, but Rose seems concerned. How are we going to find him if he's escaped, though? You ask warily. I know Dave. I'll find him, Solix says confidently. You suppose even if Dave sold all his memories for that spell, he may still have instinct and habit like you did. Plus, Solix knows him as a person. He can work out where Dave would think was safer to hide. You have somewhere to start at least. We're not going to get anywhere with finding him if we can't get inside. We should find Matuna, Kanaya says. Yeah, David isn't the only family member down here. Kanaya no doubt wants to find Matuna again as badly as the Lalans and Solix want to find Dave. Solix nods in agreement and urges the hellhounds that he sat on to go on ahead. Luckily, you don't have to worry about how to do that since they seem determined to move in a pack, and where Solix's hellhound goes, yours follow. The unholy beast runs along fast enough, but you get the distinct impression that space is warping around it, shortcutting you around the edge of the walls of hell faster than it should be possible. When the hellhounds stop, it seems to be because there's too many others in the same area for them to keep running. Solix pushes up on his knees to get a better look over the head of his hellhound. That's Matuna's house over there, Solix says, his tone uneasy. The others get off their hellhounds, and you opt to just slow your fall with your wings. It's funny, they're not as inconvenient now that you know what you're doing with them. What's going on? Kanaya asks, frowning at the pack of uneasy hellhounds ahead. There's so much whining and generally dissatisfied canine noises that you can't really make anything else out of the din. Normal dogs can be loud, let alone an absurd number of hellhounds that are more than big enough. They're more than big enough for several people to ride. You could describe this place as sounding like a kennel from hell, but that seems like it would be both derivative and self-referential. Fuck, you're starting to sound like Rose. I don't know, maybe he's trapped? Solix says. Solix walks over to the back of the clustered group of hellhounds near Matuna's house and has to push at a few before his commands to get out of the way are properly listened to. Needless to say, you keep close to Solix. You're right behind Kanaya, who's practically glued to Solix as he gets through the pack. Kanaya falters, and it's only because you have your hand on her shoulder blades that you don't run into the back of her. Peering around the nearest hellhound, you see a slumped figure on the floor. It's Matuna, curled up in on himself. Matuna! Kanaya cries out, trying to get past Solix to reach him. Roxy lunges over you, knocking into your back as she reaches to grab Kanaya by the shoulder. Don't touch him. That's a nasty curse, Roxy says seriously. What kind of curse? What's... Kanaya looks helplessly at Roxy, clearly wanting to help, but not knowing how. I'll clear some space. Hey, go there! Solix starts ordering the hellhounds, who unhappily follow his orders. Let me help, Jade offers and hops back on Beck's back. Jade starts to herd the other hellhounds away from Matuna, moving this way and that around them to usher them. Between Beck's total confidence and Jade riding him, the other hellhounds seem to listen. Soon enough, there's a big open space around Matuna and his house. What kind of curse are we talking about here? Rose asks her mom. A self-torture curse, Roxy answers grimly. Really? I've seen that curse. I guess I've never seen it used on a demon, and when I've seen it, the people wander around acting shit out. They're not just stuck like that, Solux says. He's not outright saying that he thinks Roxy is wrong, but he's as close to it as he can be without saying that. Heart magic. This was done personally, Roxy says and carefully walks closer. What does that mean? Can I ask? Which is good, because then you don't have to. Magic comes in different types. Each person has one. I'm Doom, Karkat is blood, you're space, like Jade is. Bro is heart, which isn't all love-based, soft, friendly magic like the name implies. It's more based on the soul. I guess if he chose to do a self-torturing spell on Matuna, it might manifest differently to the standard version. Maybe? Solux still seems uncertain. We have to break it. Roxy, you know about this. What do we do? I know how to dispel normal curses, but I'm not even sure where to start on this, Kanaya says as she marches closer to Matuna. You watch as Roxy tries to see the formal writing of the spell only for it to flicker and crackle out with pinkish magical static. That's definitely Bro's work, Solux agrees unhappily. Can we help? You ask Rose. I don't know how. I don't fully understand what the spell is doing, Rose admits. If it's a self-torture spell, then what it does depends on the person. For some people, it's making them believe that something awful that they fear is happening to them right now, but if I had to guess, I'd say this is more of a all your worst parts and memories being used against you kind of thing, Solux explains. That's not going to be something I can help with. I could maybe work out a way to show someone the truth of where they really are, but this is more subjective, Rose sighs. You can tell someone they're a good person all you like. If they don't believe you, or if they don't believe it, they don't believe it. It's not about true or false, it's opinion, June agrees. No, I won't allow that, Kanaya snaps, and gets as close to Matuna as Roxy has. At least she has the sense not to get closer. You don't know if this curse can transfer by touch, but you'd sooner she didn't find out. Matuna, listen to me. Whatever you're seeing, it's not real. We're here. I'm here. Solux is here. Kanaya insists, and motions for Solux to join her. He does, although he's clearly uncomfortable about seeing Matuna like this. Without the noise of the hellhound so close, you can hear Matuna's ragged breathing, and see all too well how he's shaking. Kanaya and Solux both try talking to him, trying to reach him through this curse so they can get some hold on it to break it. You just get the distinct feeling that it's not going to work. The itch to do something grows within you. You have to help. He's suffering, and he was an angel of the same god just like you were. He's family to your friend, and clearly more than just a friend to Dave and Solux. Even if he was nobody to you, it's not like you'd be okay with watching this clear and agonizing suffering either. You're an angel. You're supposed to help. Even if that wasn't the intent you were made with, it's the one you've taken on. Solux's true name floats through your mind, and you wonder, just for a moment, if you could ever change whatever yours is, to make you more than the surgically removed parts of himself that Kankri didn't like, and instead decide that who you are at your core is someone who helps people. That's what you want to be. But hey, maybe when you changed to being Rose's angel, you could have changed your true name. Maybe that is your name now. I have to help, you tell Rose. I'm all for it, but what are you planning on doing? Rose asks. I mean, are the details really important? Look, do you think you could grant me some kind of extra sight or something? If I could see what Matuna sees, then maybe I'd stand a better chance. Solux says my magic is all about connections, so if I could make a connection and see what's going on, I could help, you tell her. That sounds incredibly vague, but sure. Not really sure how I grant you that kind of thing, though, Rose tells you. It's usually just a matter of really wanting it and focusing, in my experience, June offers helpfully. Apparently, she was listening to that. All right, Rose says slowly. She takes a deep breath and, with care and a certain sense of ceremony, places her hand on your forehead. She probably doesn't need to do this, but there are plenty of things that are in magic not because they technically do anything. Not because they technically do anything, but because it's part of the ritual experience, and it doesn't feel right without those things. If Rose doesn't act like this is some high-powered and difficult lending of power, then it might not work, because one or both of you might feel like nothing much happened. As it is, Rose's hand on your forehead is just warm and not much else. She shifts her other hand to your face so she's cradling your face in her hands. You stare into her eyes, and she stares back into yours, and it's only because you're watching so keenly that you see the flare of light in her eyes. Rose lets you go without you having to ask, and on almost autopilot, you walk over to Matuna, crouch down to the floor, and touch him. The world around you snaps and reforms into something else. Matuna is still curled over on his knees on the floor, shaking and quietly weeping, but the world around you is completely different. The ground is rocky and dusty under your feet, and the air smells like death. That's all you can put it as. Not that Arati herself is anything like this, but it feels like her domain. You look around and your heart sinks. You know exactly where and when you are. Signless is clearly in agony. He's dying, so of course he is, and it's not exactly a quick way to go. It hurts to see the nails and blood and bits of rope ensuring he stays right there. He's in pain, but he's clearly angry too, and you don't blame him. He's being murdered here, and no one's coming to help. His family are no doubt being kept away, and at this point they're human, not vampires. Matuna can't help. He's stuck right on the floor behind you, being made to watch. Worse than that, Signless's own parent, his own god, won't do anything. You'd be fucking pissed too. He's just a memory, and by the looks of this curse, Matuna's worst one. You turn and kneel down in front of Matuna. You reach out to touch him, and his burnt-out wings shudder back into existence, smelling like torched flesh and feathers. Matuna, it's Karkat, you say gently, and rub his shoulder. Matuna doesn't really respond except to keep crying, but that was what he was doing before, so that's not exactly a change. I know it hurts. I can't imagine how much. I know how much falling hurts, at least, but what you had to see it's unbearable. I can see that, you tell him softly. But this is just a memory. You got a curse to relive it. He's not up there anymore. He's fine. Signless is fine. The god that made you fall and put you here and stuck him up there is dead. You outlived her. You go on. Matuna shifts a little to look up at you, tears and everything else running off of his face. You don't work for her anymore, and I don't either. I'm not on Heaven's side. Fuck that. You add, just in case he thinks you're still working for the people who did this to him. To demonstrate, you spread your very different wings out. You get out of here. You remember that? Hey, no, don't look at him. Look at me. You cut him off as he tries to look around you to Signless, who is gasping for breath behind you. Do you remember what you did after this? You ask him. Hell, Matuna croaks out. Yeah, you did. You got demon powers, saved Kanaya and her mom both. Kanaya's with me. So looks too. We're all in hell trying to rescue Dave. That's all past all of this. You remember you live past this, right? This is a memory. There's some curse making you think it's now or something. I don't know how it works. You try to gloss over that last part really quickly. Matuna hesitates and looks past you. He reaches out with one hand and tries to move, but he can't, so he leans forward as best he can and tries to claw himself further along to the ground. The gouged finger marks on the ground tell you how much that's not worked. Signless whines like he's crying, but too tired and too near death to manage it properly. You're still not sure how far from dying he is, and the horrifying thought occurs that if Matuna is stuck in this memory, then what if you have to ride that memory out as well? What if Roxy can only break it in the place where it loops? What if you have to watch Signless die? If you have to watch Matuna watch him die? Either Bro was just here and did this to him, or he's been like this since Bro got back in control of Hell again and seemingly dragged Matuna back too. How long has he been in this memory? Days? Your heart breaks for him. You'd really been trying to reason him out of this, to snap him out of this spell with logic, but that's not the point. Matuna thinks it's real, and even if he didn't, just watching this over and over, even fully knowing that it's a memory, wouldn't be any better. Matuna, you whisper, your throat getting tight like you might cry. Terezi and Rose had it all wrong. It doesn't matter whether Matuna knows this is real or not, or what the truth is. It's hell either way. You can't break this spell for him. You don't know how. You can't talk him out of it. You're just here. You move close to him and pull him upright a little more and hug him tight. Your wings curve around you both, hopefully somewhat blocking the view of Signless from him, Or actually, you suppose your wings being glass, it'd make him look more like all those church windows you've seen, though none of them capture what this really is like. I'll stay with you, you promise Matuna, and his dirt-encrusted fingernails dig into your back as he holds on to you as well. Fuck heaven and hell, they both suck. No one who'd put you in this position deserves you, and I'm not going anywhere. If you have to see this, then you're not alone, you whisper promise into his shoulder. You don't tell him it's okay, because this is the farthest goddamn thing from that, but he's not on his own now. What was the thing? Hell is other people? Yeah, no. Dealing with this alone is hell. But he isn't now. If all you can offer is being here, then you're going to do that. The sound of signless suffering behind you and the blatant agony of Matuna in your arms makes your eyes well up with tears that have been threatening since you got here. He doesn't deserve this. No one does, and neither of them should have gone through this. And fuck if that doesn't just break your secondhand heart. Your tears run onto Matuna's skin, and at first you don't notice anything, not until the golden light of Rose's magic starts spreading through Matuna. His skin shimmers gold and flares bright pink in strips and lines of angelic lettering. The curse. You don't know how you know that's what it is, but you do. Either way, you recognize your native language just as much as Bro seemingly remembers how to write in it too. Reaching out, you grab the spell like you did on yourself before. You don't know how to dispel it or break it, but your hope is that by touching the thing that Rose will somehow be able to see it, or you can highlight it for Roxy. Just something. Signless is fine now. He's in charge. Kanaya and her mom are fine. Solix isn't dead. I brought him back. You keep listing through things that you're positive Matuna cares about. All the while, you do the closest thing to prayer you know how to do for Rose. You need her to help, and you know she won't let you down. You know she'll figure something out. You have faith. Maybe the memory comes to the end of its loop, and Signless dies when you're not looking. Or maybe you, highlighting the curse, help the others break it sooner. But all you know is that a few minutes after you held Matuna tight, everything around you both shifts back to reality. There, I think, Roxy says slowly. Karkat, can you hear me? Rose asks, you turning to look at her probably answers that question just fine. Can I touch him now? Kanaya asks, and you guess that Roxy gives her some sign that she can, because Kanaya throws herself at Matuna with great speed and intensity. What happened? Rose asks, helping you away from Matuna and Kanaya, who are having a moment, as she reassures him that this is in fact reality. It was the memory of Signless dying, probably on loop. Did I help Roxy see the spell? You ask. It lit up, right? Rose nods. Oh, good, you say a little weakly. You look over at Matuna again, but jump when Rose touches your face. As her fingers run over your cheek, you realize that you've been crying here too, not just in that curse. Are you okay? She asks you quietly. No, but I guess we can add this to the list of things your father has to pay for. You shrug and scrub at your face to dry it. Your throat feels tight, and your sinuses, if this body you made has them, feel like garbage. Again, you're stuck wondering how normal your body is. All the parts that you seem perfectly normal. You have the right number of teeth, and if you were to stand naked in front of a mirror, you wouldn't say you look divine, but even your self-esteem is not so low as to rule out you saying that you look human. You eat food and drink, and that does what you'd expect, but your internal workings are something of a mystery. Do you have sinuses? Or do you just breathe through a face that's normal looking on the outside? You don't think humans ever worry about this, and unless something's gone really wrong, they never see their insides either. What are you thinking about? Rose asks. Dumb stuff. Don't worry about it. You mumble awkwardly, and watch as Kanaya pulls Matuna to his feet and starts explaining everything. You leave them to it until Kanaya and Matuna have got to the point of why you're all here, and the fact that hell just got locked down. Dave must have escaped. That's why he's trying to lock him in here, right? Solix says urgently. Escape? From him? If he was out there, or if he was out here, the hounds would have found him and brought him right here, and I don't even know if this place was totally outside his awareness or not. If Dave has escaped, he's not out here. Matuna says uneasily. Let me take a little water. Excuse me. Why else would he have locked everything down? Solix asks, his shoulders falling as the hope he was holding on to fades. I don't know. He could be using it as some sort of fixed value in a spell. Without souls going in, it'd be stable enough. Or he could have tricked a god in here and trapped them. Matuna shrugs. His voice is shaky, but if he's anything like Solux, he probably appreciates the distraction. He's leaning on Kanai a little heavily, but you won't comment on it. Well, present company excluded, obviously. It's not like he's trapping us here. He doesn't even know about Rose, and as for me, we're friends. We were. June amends that last part with a frown. You think he wouldn't try and kill you? Like there's any limit to what he won't do to people? Matuna snaps at her. He was just tortured by him after all. June winces and looks away, not able to meet Matuna's eyes, or however much eye contact you can get through Matuna's wilder than usual hair. As much as you hate Bro, you do feel for June. She genuinely was friends with him once. Maybe sometimes you just want to believe that you can save people. You know you feel that way, and that's been about people who aren't your friends. Either he's trapping Dave or trapping us. Either way, we want to find Dave and avoid him for now, Roxy says. For now, you whisper in quiet horror, and you'd argue, but even you can pick your battles. You've no complaints at the concept of Bro getting his ass handed to him. You just have no idea how that actually happened. Agreed. So the problem becomes again, how do we locate Dave? Solix, if you were Dave, where would you hide from my homicidal patriarch? Rose asks. You can't hide. Not anywhere. Closest thing that is out here, and like Matuna said, the Hellhounds would be all over Dave. They adore him. Solix answers her. I have a different idea, Jade interrupts. Oh, thank goodness. You'd like any plan that involves rescuing Dave, but doesn't involve attempted deicide. A voice of reason would be appreciated here. I say we seek out my grandfather, or grandfather/cousin/father. Anyway, if anyone will know what's going on with the devil and with Dave, it's him, right? So we find him, and we make him tell us, Jade says. Okay, not sensible suggestion time then. Just different crazy. Oh, good. How do we find him then? June asks. I don't know. He never comes out here. I've only heard of him from people who come out here, Matuna shrugs. He goes wherever he likes. I've never tried to find him before. I usually try to avoid him. But we do have a hellhound who knows him, Solix says slowly as he looks at Beck. But he's in a different body. Is a sense of smell really going to find him? Terezi asks, raising a scaly eyebrow. They don't smell your body. They smell your soul. Him body hopping won't change shit, Solix assures her and pets Beck on the head. His middle head, since he's still bigger and supporting 3. Okay, so assuming Beck can do that, how do we get through hell without anyone else seeing us, you ask? I can be invisible. Jade can near enough too, June starts. Jade's so-so. I wouldn't rely on it, Solix interrupts. I can go invisible. I imagine Matuna can, but Solix is out of magic right now, right? You ask. Enough that I can't be invisible, yeah, he agrees grudgingly. The car, Roxy says with a snap of her fingers. The car, Rose repeats. Roxy motions at you in a way that you can only interpret as her wanting you to get the car out, and so you do as she asks. If nothing else, you want to see where she's going with this. You step back away from the group and pull the car out, still weirded out by the feeling. Roxy pats the hood and grins at you. The car runs on Rose, so do you. You can go invisible and take it with you. We get in the car, and we're all invisible. Roxy beams. Is there a gate for the wall, though? How can we get over that? You ask, gesturing to the giant wall that you're next to. Solix walks over to you slowly, his tail slicing through the air behind him in a way that reminds you more of the body movement of a shark than a stalking cat. He comes to a stop in front of you and then reaches out and smacks your left wing with a resulting jangle of glass. You can fly, dipshit, he says. If you do the chain thing and I grab a hold of the back of the car, then you and me can totally get this car over there and down the other side without being seen. Then we just stick you and Beck on the front. Rose looks through your eyes and we drive off on our little hunt, June says with cheery optimism. Could we not use this method to just find Dave right away? Or are we assuming with that the moment we find Dave, we may need to retreat very quickly? You did promise to retrieve your grandfather, after all, and I wouldn't want to risk breaking a promise to a Fae Queen. Kanaya shudders at that. It sounds like finding Jake is the best move. More information is always better, and when we find him and learn what he knows, Jade can send him off, and we go find Dave, right? Rose asks. Something like that, Jade says quietly. You're not on your own. You have backup for dealing with him, you assure Jade. She gives you a slightly tense smile and opens the front passenger door and gets in, shuffling to the middle. Mom, could you drive while I see, if you don't mind, Carcat? Rose quickly looks back at you. If I'm giving directions, it's better that you can see what I see. Me yelling where we're probably going is gonna ruin the stealth aspect. You snort. Still, it's nice that she's asking you. You appreciate that. Solux gets Beck to go back to his smaller size and has him hop on the roof. Jade is telling him to show her where her grandpa is. You watch as he paces around on the roof, sniffing at the air, and then finally looking off in a certain direction. You have a scent. Just gotta remember how to do the chain thing again. Do you need me to make some for you two, or you ask? Nah, I'll just grab the back and lift, June says casually as she leans on the back of the car. Right, one bullshit thing at a time, I guess, you mutter to yourself. It takes a few tries, but you work out how to do the chain thing again, and throw one end under the car so it slides out on the ground the other side. Beck barks and jumps off the roof to grab the end of the chain, and helpfully gives it back to you. Of course, you tell him that he's a very good boy, and he happily jumps back to the car roof. You jump onto the hood of the car and let the chains merge into your hands, trying to ignore the very signless-like echoes there and the very recent memories that bring up. You hope that Matuna can't see you at least, or Kanaya for that matter. The balance of this should be okay, right? You ask, jingling the chain where it sat just behind the front wheels underneath the car, and then up to you. Yeah, this whole thing is going to be a little like a theme park ride no matter what we do, but I think if you're flying for that half and I'm doing this, then we'll be okay. I can adjust you, June nods. Right, okay. Now I just have to be invisible. You say more to yourself than her. Slipping from view isn't hard for you now, but what you hadn't expected is how immediately the car goes with you. Seemingly, if you're touching it, then it follows your lead. Now, to all appearances, Beck is floating in the air, and June is leaning on nothing. Although, that's not entirely true. If you look, you can see the faint outline of where the car actually is, but you have to really try to see it. Beck looks down at the car and gives it a look of canine confusion before also vanishing entirely. Not in the green flash of teleportation that he does sometimes, but he just simply isn't there anymore. Beck, you call out warily. The space where Beck was barks at you. Well, okay then. June is now the only visible one in your group. Hey, Carcat, look over there, June exclaims. Out of dumb instinct, you do actually look, and the moment you look back, you see she's gone, and you feel real dumb. But she's a trickster god. What else did you expect? I hate that a trick that dumb worked on me, you groan. The old ones are the best. Whatever you have to tell yourself, you grumble and face forward again, chains in hand. You feel Rose's awareness flick on behind your eyes, and you blink a little as you adjust to the feeling. Hey Rose, you say to yourself, just to let her know that you're aware of the connection. Let's go, Carcat, on 3. 1, 2... You're ready when June says 3, and so you flap your wings at the same moment that an updraft of the air hits the underside of the car. The car rockets up in the air, but the hood of the car is still under your feet, and you're pleased to find that it's not tipping too far forward or back. It probably feels terrifying from inside, but at least it's not flailing around wildly. That's about all you can do. The icy wall before you rises up as far as the eye can see, and the ice seems worse the higher you get. Just as you're starting to wonder if there is a top to the wall, you finally see it. A moment later, you're over it, and with a flick of your wings and a favorable breeze, you pull the car over the top and gently drift down to the ground below. The wall seemed so insurmountable, but you've got past it. Like everything so far. Bringing Solux back from the dead seemed impossible, but you did it, bit by bit. You'll get Dave back just the same, by facing each problem that's in front of you and chipping away at the thing. It's not as if you're doing it alone either. You're going to get Dave back together. A creaking sound fills the air, and you look up onto see an iceberg-sized hunk of ice fall towards you in the car below. June thankfully has quicker reactions than you do, and a tornado-strength wind hits the car from behind, throwing you bodily against the windshield of it. You're pretty sure your wings scratch the paint, and there's some alarmed claw scrabbling from the roof, but only a little, so you think that Beck is still there. A huge mass of ice hurtles down past you and smashes on the ground below. You scrabble to your feet and do your part in stabilizing the car as it drifts down, and only when you touch down do you realize just how screwed you might be. Standing by the iceberg are two demons, looking it over with displeased expressions. Can't it just melt by itself? The smaller one groans and pokes at it with an actual pitchfork, the movement making her multiple bunches of hair wave in the air. She looks like she has dead bug legs for hair or something. No, it's our job to get rid of the ice, a taller demon woman with slitted goggles says with a sigh. But it already fell down, the smaller demon whines. You're here because you pissed off Red Glare. Do you want her to find out that you've been letting hell stay frozen? Do the work, the taller demon says firmly, and starts melting the ice with something that looks like a mop, if a mop was made of white-hot fire. You chance a glance back over the faint outline of the car, and see the back move slightly, and a handprint appear on the faint trace of the back window. June is still there and has climbed on. Now, what about Beck? Beck, you whisper, and gasp when a wet nose presses into your side. In your shock, you drop your chains, somehow detaching them from your hands as you do so. The sound of them bouncing off of the metal of the car makes you wince. What was that? The shorter demon gasps and turns around to face you. The sound of someone trying to avoid work, the taller demon says sarcastically. No, I heard something. We should go investigate, the smaller demon insists. With a sigh, the taller one lowers her fire mop and leans on the end of it as she looks at the smaller demon. Look, I think whatever that was isn't going to be anything. It could be the hounds on the other side of the wall, or a punishment in the distance, she starts. It could be Dave. If I find the heir, and present him to the devil himself, I'll be a hero. I'll be revered again, the smaller one insists. The taller demon pulls her goggles on and rests them on her forehead, just so she can pinch the bridge of her nose and sigh. Fine. Let's say it's him. Let's say you find and somehow manage to overpower him and drag him to the tower. Let's assume that on your way there is no one bigger or stronger than you who takes him from you so they can claim that they caught him instead. Let's say you get there. He might not shower you with riches. He might kill you or give you to the xenobiologist so that he can say that he found Dave himself or that Dave saw sense and came home. You don't know. That's a lot of ifs, Torona. Also, you heard a weird noise somewhere out of sight that makes you want to go check it out. It could be Cal, the taller demon says flatly, and the smaller one visibly recoils at Cal's name. So we should just, what, ignore anything we see or hear out here? Torona asks warily. Now you've got it. The subtle art of minding your own damn business, the taller demon says, snapping her fingers and then sliding her goggles back on. You look warily at the two demons, and after a second or two, the car relatively quietly rumbles to life. Both demons look over, but neither does anything. Holy shit, that was lucky. You sit on the hood of the car, folding your wings away from you now. You can feel Beck at your side as the car drives slowly along, and you put your hand on his head so you can feel what direction he's looking in. You need to find Grandpa, Jade's grandpa, okay? You whisper to him. There's a snuffling, and then Beck's head turns, moving your hand the same way. You look in that direction, and slowly the car turns until you're looking straight ahead, and so you start driving through hell. There are bone-hewn signs with skeletal arms pointing each other every which way, with demonic signs hanging from the arm bones. They shift a little as hell rearranges itself, but they're no help to you. Not only can you not read it properly just yet, but you also don't know the location that you're heading to. All you have to do is follow Beck. It seems that hell isn't properly up and running yet, or at least not the capacity it perhaps usually does. You see a lot of places where you assume people are usually tortured, but nothing's happening right now. A whole pit of eyeballs on stalks is half frozen, and the other half is just empty. One of the eyeballs even seems to be levitating a phone before it in boredom. As Beck steers you this way and that, you find you're not always so lucky. Muffled screaming catches your ears, and you see a demon calmly shoveling dirt into a half-filled grave. From within you hear banging like fists on wood. You shudder and force yourself not to intervene. You need to save Dave and fix all this. It's just not possible to save every single person, living and dead. You can't. A few times you have to stop as demons walk by, either on their way to somewhere else or just clearing up the ice like you saw the others. Most frequently, though, you pass large demons who are clearly patrolling and looking for someone. You don't have to be a genius to work out they're looking for Dave. Every time you see groups like this, you just have to stop and wait for them to pass, holding your breath for fear of making any noise at all. It's slow going, but you follow Beck's trail, and eventually you don't need him to tell you where you're going. In a desolate area of hell, the land breaks off into a lake of bubbling lava, in the center of which is an island. A very familiar-looking island. There's no other demons around that you can see. This place doesn't appear to be close to any of the torture areas or any demonic establishments where demons seem to work or socialize. This is in the middle of nowhere. June, you say just above a whisper. Same again. You stand and spool chain out from one hand. Beck barks and you feel him grab the end of the chain. It spools out, and when you look down, you see doggy claw marks appear in the dusty red ground below you as Beck scrabbles under the car and out the other side. The car bounces a little as he jumps back up and passes the end of the chain to you. You're the best dog, you tell him sincerely, and get your hand licked as thanks. Ready, you say to June. She counts you down just like last time, and the two of you very carefully fly the car over the lava and onto the black volcanic beach on the other side. The car's wheels crunch on the sand on the other side, and before you can sit down again, you hear one of the doors open and Rose stumbles out, immediately followed by a sharp and very fey-looking Jade. Her expression is tight and angry as she looks at the replica of her island and at the tower just visible at the top. She's never looked more like her grandmother than she does in this moment. Solix says demons don't go near him if they can help it. No one else will be here, Jade says coldly. You relax the invisibility on you and the car as everyone else gets out, and Beck and June follow you back into visibility. Beck points towards the replica of Jade's house in the way that you've seen in hunting dogs do in movies. It looks like Jake is home. I'm going to go up there and find him, Jade says, her words tight, as if she's only just restraining herself. As you look at Jade, you see that the ground around her feet is starting to freeze. The black waves of her hair are slowly taking on a slightly glittering appearance, like a soft frost has just settled over her. I always thought you were summer-aligned because of how you are, but you say and falter at how to finish that. So did I. I try to be happy, and I like people, but I guess there's a lot about myself that I was kept from knowing, huh? Jade laughs bitterly and without humor. Jade, you know we love you, right? You're our friend. We absolutely are going to help you track him down, and everything he did to you was so wrong, but we're here for you, you know? You say uneasily. You rest your hand on her shoulder, and Jane turns back to you. She smiles in a bittersweet kind of way, like she appreciates you, but it can't be denied the situation sucks. All the same, she's your friend, and you care about her. Jade's smile is genuine, though it makes you remember that winter isn't evil or bad. Winter can be cozy. It can be family together in the dark, playing in the snow, and that clear, crisp weather that makes everything glitter. You shouldn't be surprised that Jade is from winter. You're just happy that she found her family. And now you just have to go and track down another branch of her family tree, and perhaps beat him to a pulp with it. I know we absolutely have to do this, but this sucks, and I hate it, Solix says miserably as he climbs out of the car. Don't you want to see someone who hurt you suffer? Terezi asks with a sharp smile. No, Solix answers at the same time that Jade says yes. Solix looks over at Jade and shrugs. I get the vengeance thing. I'm all for it. I'm not really into being anywhere near the guy, but we have to, so let's go. I'm pretty sure that Beck is saying he's in the house, Solix explains. He's probably in the rooms that I was kept out of, so that's where we'll go. Come on, Jade says and starts walking. You look at Rose and feel her vision through your eyes fade. You put the car away so no one on the other side can see it and know that you're there, and then the pair of you follow after Jade. The whole group sticks close to her as she treks through this simulacrum of her own forest, or her own island. As you walk, you realize that it's subtly not right in the same way that you felt when you were entering winter, and things were off bit by bit. The trees are unfamiliar, the grass is the wrong shade, the flowers seem alien, and everything is ever so slightly wrong. Now and then you pass trees or plants that have little plaques posted on the ground by them or hammered into the wood itself. like this place is some preserved park or something. The unsettling feeling of the island only grows when you see taxidermied mythological wildlife preserved in place, little folklore animals frozen in faux frolicking with glassy eyes. The house looms over you as you draw closer, its tower arching up into what passes for the sky in hell, and the orb-like structures at the top remind you far too much of the eye stalks you saw before. You can't help but feel watched. Jade stops outside the doorway and waits as Solux, Roxy, and Trezzy all squint at the building, searching for magic. To your side, June draws in a breath and lets it out as a long breeze that tugs at your hair and whistles through an open doorway. "We're free to enter. There's nothing there," June says quietly. "Makes sense. Why lock the door? It's such a nice neighborhood." Trezzy smirks. Jade steps to the door, and you follow right behind her. As you do, there's this feeling of familiarity and unfamiliarity all at once, where you think the place is an exact replica until little details jump out at you more and more. Just like the first room in Jade's house, this one is dark and crowded, both with beat-up old leather furniture and art, but also taxidermy. Over on one wall, there's a creepy bear with wings. Is it unsettling? Yes. Would it fit in Jade's house before? Also yes. You try not to look at it avoid eye contact with the creepy taxidermy. That works until... Oh god, that is a person! You stare in frozen horror at a plinth by one wall. There's a tube about 7 feet high that appears to be filled with resin, and suspended in it is the preserved form of a merman. You can see subtle lines where either an autopsy or perhaps some preservation process took place, and all you can do is stare in horror. Merpeople are sentient people. There's a mermaid grad student that you fetched books from when the elevator was down for an hour. They're people. Over there is a stuffed centaur form. There's a fawn. There's a selkie half-transformed with the seal skin displayed off to the side. When Solux sees that one, he jumps and backs away. That was what he looked like when... Solux cuts himself off and shudders. Are these his former bodies? Kanaya asks in horror as she eyes what remains of a vampire. Makes sense. Come, Jade phrases when you hear a dull thump across the room. All of you stay shocked still, aside from the quiet drawing of weapons and readying of spells. Roxy pushes ahead into the lead, with Jade right at her heels. At the risk of being separated, you all follow along, with your nerves jangling. The dark room has a corner cut out to it. If you remember right, in Jade's house, it has the water heater in there, because you were looking for the bathroom once and you opened the wrong door. Who knows what it has in it now, but either way, around that corner there's another case. This one is also round, but within it, at the top, is a wide ring, and running down from that are taut lines that follow the circular edge of the case and connect to another circular ring on the base. The lines that run between the two are glittering, and as you look you can see that it's droplets of water running down them. Water that to your eyes looks somehow special. Trapped within this contraption is a demon curled into an upright fetal position. This demon's horns are in a set of 4, like Solux's, only these ones are curvier, bending this way and that, and forking at the end of the larger set. Sarava! Solux hisses, rushing forward. Hearing their name, Sarava looks up. With one eye, at least. The other is scrunched shut, and from the gold blood on their cheek, you're pretty sure they're hurt. Solux? Sarava whispers back, a voice barely audible with the glass in the way. We have to get them out, Solux insists, looking back at you. That's holy water. I can make it not holy. I just need to get through the glass quietly, Kanaya whispers. Oh, I can do that, you gasp, and grab the same diamond that you used with Aradia. Trying to be as quiet as possible, you hurry over to the glass, and with a guess at Sarava's size, you start to score a pretty decent-sized circle. It's hard to do on a curved surface, but you do your best. Sometimes you have to go over areas with more pressure. It's only when you get to the end that you realize you can't push this in, or you're going to splash Sarava with holy water. Before you can ask for help, the glass suddenly flies back, and you twist to see Roxy catch it. Yoink, she whispers with a grin. Well, that's a problem solved. Kanaya moves forward and leans in to touch the water that runs down the wires, muttering and whispering an incantation, and then without any ceremony, she tears through the wires with her bare hands. You forget sometimes that vampires have a shit ton of strength. Sarava flinches when they're splashed with water, but seeing as nothing happens, they relax, and you and Kanaya reach in to help them out as quickly as possible. Sarava, what happened? We heard you on the radio, but... Solix begins quietly. What happened to me? What happened to you? You were supposed to be dead. I heard your music stop. Sarava hisses at him. Oh, well, yeah, I was dead for a bit. Didn't agree with me, so, needy kismesis and all. Solux shrugs. You're welcome, asshat, you growl at him. So what happened to you? Solux presses. Bro's a loyalist grabbed me to stop me helping you. When he came back, I was fucked. Everyone who didn't have a good enough defense got screwed over. Sarava answers, careful to keep their voice down. Can confirm, Matuna agrees quietly, speaking for the first time in a long while. Unholy shit, it's you. Well, anyway, he gave me to the xenobiologist to study. He made me cut my eye out to see if it was what physically gave my ability to do seer shit with music. Sarava shudders and covers their eye. Kanaya hisses and digs around in her bag until she pulls out a long scarf. It's black with pink triangles on it, and without a word she leans over and gently bandages Sarava's face with the scarf. Thanks. I'm not giving you anything for it if that's what you were after, Sarava says suspiciously. I just want to help, Kanaya insists, and Sarava relaxes a little. Hey, we're looking for Dave after we deal with the xenobiologist. Do you know where he is? Solix asks. Man, I've been stuck in there since this place got going again. I haven't heard shit since I got shoved in there, and when I was out I was cutting out my own eye and kinda distracted. Sarava answers a little wapishly. I get that, but can you see now? And what about Cal? I don't like the idea that he could be anywhere. Solix mutters and looks around at that last part as if he might be in this very room. Sarava's expression goes a little unfocused, and then they frown. I can't hear either of them, they say. What does that mean? You ask. For Dave, I'd say it means he's in a different time, that he doesn't exist in this universe at the moment. He's somewhere else, but with Cal, I don't know. Can you hear anyone else? Solix asks. Like Latula? Matuna suggests. Sarava's expression goes a little hazy again, and you just catch them faintly humming what you think is, I fought the law and the law won, but you could be mistaken. I can hear her makers, talking to her right now. Still can't hear Cal and Dave, Sarava says. I don't know what that means, but I don't like it, Solix says. Sarava shrugs, and you figure there's not much they can do about it. Jade moves behind you, and your legs get slapped twice by Beck's tail as he follows her. Turning to look, you see her walking towards the stairs without saying anything or looking back at any of you. You hurry after her, you hurry after her with a whispered, "Oh shit," and the others catch up as well. You all ascend the spiral staircase in silence as Jade and Beck lead the way. As you finally reach the floor where Jake's office was before Jade pauses and looks back at you. She holds a finger to her lips and looks meaningfully at all of you. You get the message. Whatever happens, she wants you to stay silent. She starts walking and you follow a little behind her. You're not sure if you were meant to stay put too, but if you were, she doesn't stop you. You only stop when Jade does, and quietly tells Beck to stay. You figure if that's as close as she wants Beck, then she likely doesn't want you to follow anymore either. The door to this room is ajar, and Jade pushes it open and walks inside. You get a glimpse of the form of the man inside. You get a glimpse of the form the man inside is currently wearing. He's small, about 4 foot tall at most. He seems old, but in the way that trees can seem old and still sturdy. He's wearing solid iron boots with rivets all over them, and his eyes are black and sharp. You're thinking goblin adjacent until you see the hat, and then you know what Jake is wearing. He's inhabiting the body of a redcap. The redcaps are so named because they sloke their caps in blood of those that they kill, and this one is an exceptionally dark and rotten shade of red. Jake turns around in his chair and looks at Jade with an expression of surprise, and when he speaks, you're startled to hear that his voice is exactly the same as you remember from your dream-recalled memory of him. Jade, you're in hell now. How? Well, I suppose you, being Fae, would make you unholy enough to warrant the assignment, but this is fascinating. It implies that your socializing a Fae in a civilized culture leads to an appropriate... Oh, where's my notebook? Jake trails off and you hear paper shuffling. Anecdotal evidence isn't even... Roxy hisses from behind you and someone elbows her into silence. Jade says something too quiet for you to hear, her voice meek, and far more timid than you want to hear. Shit, you can't blame her. Coming face to face with someone who hurt you so much and wronged you so badly can be frightening, and falling back into old roles is entirely understandable. I didn't catch that, Jake says as he turns around with his notebook in hand. Jade mumbles something again, but once more it's inaudible. Oh, and you brought people, Jake gasps, seeing you around the edge of the doorway. Jade steps in his way and for a third time says something too quiet to hear. You really should speak up. I'm sorry, Jake starts, and your eyes widen. Yeah, you should be, but I'm glad you admit that you're sorry, Jade says, her voice more than audible now. Rule 1 for dealing with Fae: never admit you're sorry. It's an admission that you wronged them, and now you're in your debt. Now you're in their debt. Oh, Jake, you really should have known better. You owe me. After everything you did to me, you owe me, and I intend to collect, Grandpa, Jade hisses at him. No, that wasn't what I meant, and you know it, Jake says, hastily backing up. No. You wince at the Fae magic audibly snapping shut around Jake. It's powerful, but very base magic, and it makes your skin feel the wrong size for a moment. You got the devil to take me from my family, to murder my parents. You kept me on an island, lied to me, experimented on me, and then abandoned me. You wronged me, and now you're going to start to pay me back for what you did, to give me what you owe me. You're not going to call for help. You're not going to call for help to anyone. You're not going to let anyone know about us being here, and you are going to help us with everything I tell you until I decide that we're square. Understand? Jade hisses, and ice starts to creep over the floors and up the walls of Jake's office. I always knew you were dangerous, Jake says darkly. Yeah, I am. But you know what? I'm not the only Jade who wants something from you, Jade growls, and the hallway and the office start to become darker, as if the sun outside has set. The shadows around you grow longer, and the air you breathe out starts to mist before your face. Jade reaches a hand into her bag and pulls out the doll her grandmother gave her. Oh, what's that? A puppet or something? Anything you made from my body won't work, Jade. I thought I taught you that much. Jake scoffs at her. No, but something made by your soul, by a Fae queen, by your grandmother, my grandmother, that'll do. She didn't die. She went home. When I'm done with you, that's where you'll be going. And I know you're going to want me to tell her that you were at least helpful before I sent you her way. Or maybe you won't be. I wonder what happens to you if I... Jade trails off and then clenches her hand with the doll in it. Jake chokes, scrabbling at his chest and struggles to breathe. At once, Jade releases her grip and looks down at Jake. Where is Dave? She asks him. He's missing. I don't know where he is, Jake coughs. We already knew that. Not good enough, Jade replies immediately. He killed Cal. My dear heart was obviously upset and killed Dave right back. Only temporarily, of course, and he got up and walked off the roof sometime later, and no one has seen him since. We don't know where he is, and his father was pitching such a fit that I figured I'd stay well out of it. Jake goes on. Killed Cal? Nothing can kill Cal. Disassemble him, maybe, Solak says and comes close enough to look around your shoulder at Jake. Oh, if it isn't you. Well, he's quite dead. He got a hold of that pesky sword and did it, though I don't know how. Jake adds with a bit of a sneer at Solix as he speaks. The sword? Khaled Filch? How would Dave have... Oh no. Solix winces. Gonna share with the rest of class? You ask him. When we first got to Earth, I had that sword. I stole it from the vaults after this asshole went in there for something. I snuck in after him and swiped it. Only 3 people have the code to get in. Bro, Cal, and this evil son of a bitch. Then one time when Dave was off somewhere else, slightly older Dave showed up unarmed, upset, and confused. We talked and I gave him a regular sword and Khaled Filch, and he went off. Me and Dave don't talk about time loops. It gets weird if we do. I never mentioned it, but he also never showed it to me after that or asked about it. It must have been Dave recently from our linear point of view, Solix explains. That sword has serious side effects, Roxy says gravely. What happened when Dave used it? Jade asks, or rather demands from Jake. He died. A version of him did, merged with some demon, made a time-traveling sphinx. It was all a little unclear, not the main focus of the encounter, Jake answers, wincing as he does so. Time travel is such bullshit, June groans. Well, she's not wrong. Maybe Dave dying is why you can't hear him. If a version of him died, maybe he's on a different frequency or whatever, June suggests to Sarava. I can hear those two just fine, and he died and he switched gods pretty obviously, so no. Cal being dead explains why I can't hear him. Sarava answers, waving a hand at you two. What are you saying? Solix demands, turning around to look at Sarava. The implication that Dave might be dead seems pretty clear to you. Could he not be somewhere that you can't reach him? Rose asks. That's never happened to me, Sarava says bluntly. Wait, you blurt out, making everyone look at you. What if this is going to take more seer power than any of you have alone? Is there some way to combine all your abilities? You ask. You could. We could set up a circle and have the seers as the power called upon, Roxy says slowly. That wouldn't work. The seers would just clash, Jake interrupts, standing up from where he'd been on the floor. Not if we had a person there to focus the power who was aligned to one of them. Which we do, Roxy corrects him a little sharply. Oh, wait, she means you. I've had some luck with tarot in the past, which I guess I was channeling from my previous god's supply of magic or something, you guess. Are you all cool with this? Roxy asks as she pulls out and uncaps a pink chalk pen. Normally I'd say nah, but I'm curious about this, so yeah, Sarava shrugs. 3 heads are better than 1, right, Beck? Terezi asks and Beck barks, his tail wagging happily. Rose just nods. Roxy directs you to where you stand directs you where to stand and checks that you've still got your tarot cards on hand and has you leave the rest of your stuff outside. The less chance of magical items interfering, the better. Take your phone or something with speakers. My stuff's audio, so you want that option, Sarava tells you, and so Rose hands you your phone back. You sit down on the floor and watch as she draws a circle around you, and then with smaller circles encapsulates each of the seers. Sarava reads their text very closely, but in the end seems satisfied. Rose and Terezi has no such concerns. As you wait, you shuffle your cards, just as something to do with your hands. It's either that or nervously fiddling with your phone, and the cards at least look productive. You don't bother checking that they're all there. You've learned that what cards are in your deck and how many of them is entirely up to what you're trying to read for. Jake watches with academic interest as Roxy works, as if he's still her academic supervisor or something. Roxy is clearly more competent without him, so you just pay attention to what she's doing and attempt to clear your head. You need your mind clear if you're to be the focus for all this seer power. Well, now you're just more nervous than you were before. You shuffle the cards uneasily and wait for Roxy to finish up her writing. She reads over everything, as do Solix and Sarava, but everything seems to be in order. Roxy kneels down at the edge of the circle and looks at you expectantly. I'm ready, you tell her, and take a steadying breath. Roxy presses her fingers to the circle and it flares in pink light, illuminating around each of the seers in turn. Your skin tingles, and your senses feel strange. Your vision is something reminiscent of watching a 3D movie without glasses on, and everything you can hear seems a little distorted. You must be hearing and seeing too much. You should get started. You shuffle the deck real quick one last time and take a grounding breath. You stop shuffling and turn over the top card. The Knight of Wands, inverted. You frown as you try to remember. Anger and impulsiveness, right? To your side, your phone crackles and a song starts to play. An aggressive beat starts to pulse out of it, and through your veins all the while the air shudders and shows you frozen images. That nightmare puppet, a white sword, and then Dave's hand holding that sword attacking the puppet. I am not a pattern to be followed. The pill that I'm on is a tough one to swallow. I'm not a criminal, not a role model, not a born leader. I'm a tough act to follow. I'm not the fortune and the fame, nor the same person telling you to forfeit the game. I came in the ring like a dog on a chain, and I found out the underbelly's sicker than it seems, and it seems ugly, but it can get worse. So Dave did attack and kill Cal, just like Jake said. Hesitantly, you turn the next card over, and immediately the music from your phone becomes instrumental and sorrowful. The card is the Wheel of Fortune. That's inevitable fate. I must have been unconscious for a while. I didn't realize that I nearly died, so I came to terms that everything was changed. You see Dave's body on the floor, a sphinx. He avoided death, or permanent death. You get the feeling that you're seeing things as Dave, so if this is from his viewpoint, then there was another him, right? Your fingers run over the back of the next card in the deck as an uneasy feeling builds in your gut. As you turn it, before you even set it on the ground, the music cuts off entirely. All you can hear is the papery flick of the card as you placed on the ground. Death. Because of course it is. It takes a second for an image to appear in the air, but it's a statue, a woman, but not one you recognize. I told you I couldn't hear him, Kusaraba says. I know that statue. I've seen it before, in the vault where I got the sword, Solok says slowly, as he presumably tries to place where he's seen it. Is that true? Jade asks her grandfather. Oh, I suppose yes. It looks like it's probably Pygmalion's statue, which is in the vault, Jake says grudgingly. Clearly, he wouldn't have said anything if Jade wasn't compelling him to. Ew, gross. I hope Dave isn't touching that thing, June grimaces. Wasn't Pygmalion the guy who made a statue and fell in love with... Oh, you falter. Yeah, I don't want to think about what that statue's been in contact with, June says. Oh boy, best not to think on that. It's a smart place to hide. You said that our homicidal father and Jake here are the only living people who know the code to get in. Then he'd have no reason to think Dave would be there. He wouldn't check it, right? Rose asks. Right, Solix nods. So how do we get in? Or how did he get in, you ask? Time travel, I guess? Snuck in after someone else did it, someone else like I did. Solix shrugs. Roxy pulls a drink out of her bag and pours it over the chalk line around you, breaking the circle and allowing you all to move safely. So you're going to help us get there, and you're going to get us in, Jade tells her grandfather in a tone that very much communicates that this isn't negotiable, but rather a part of his debt to her. Bro will be very angry if he finds out, Jake says sullenly. That sounds like a you problem. Best he doesn't find out then, huh? Terezi says with a grin so wide and sharp that little sparks of fire skitter out between her teeth. So, car again then? We need to get over the lava, so we'll have to fly. But if we know where we're going, we don't need Beck outside. You could probably even... You start saying to June, but she shakes her head. I'm not leaving you on the outside of the car on your own. I've got your back, June insists, and you definitely do not get teary-eyed about your friend caring about you. Solix mutters, and you look around at him. What? You ask, blinking away the tears that aren't building in your eyes. Nothing, just a future plan to make you watch a romance movie in your true form to see what happens with all your eyes, Solix says casually. That's probably going to be a thing that ends up happening, but to your ears it still sounds like a date, so you'll take it, even if he is kind of mocking you. The idea of some future where things are normal enough that you can go on a date and not be breaking into hell is really nice to think about. You all go back outside and get the car out. Jake obviously is going with, and Sarava is conspicuously a wanted person, so they can't be wandering around, and unsurprisingly, they don't want to spend time in Jake's creepy nightmare home alone. What is surprising is how the car elongates inside without bothering to change the outside at all. That kind of spatial distortion makes you feel a little messed up in ways that are probably Kenkri's fault, so you're not complaining about being outside, making the whole thing invisible all over again. You and June fly the car over the lava, and then settle onto the roof together and wait as the car drives along. She leans her chin on your shoulder, and the pair of you stay quiet for fear of attracting any attention. Just because you can't always see demons doesn't mean that they're not there. Given that you're driving a car around through hell, the route you take feels a little circuitous. Like you can see the densely populated areas, but seeing as it's an invisible car, you can't just drive through people. You suppose you could run people down, but it somewhat defeats the stealth purpose. For a moment, your mind jumps to Grand Theft Auto, a game series you've never actually played, but once did witness Dave breaking. You have vague memories of him explaining that he had to get a high wanted ranking to steal a tank, steal it, and then break the game's physics to make it fly by shooting the ground. It's not like hell runs on the same system, but mowing down demonic pedestrians would definitely get that star rating up and have people looking for you. You drive past demons arguing about how much to thaw an area given that it's meant to be icy rain in a freezing slush pit that's currently just snowing in a nice festive way. In the distance, a few demons are throwing large blankets over a giant worm monster. At another part, you pass several demons arguing near a giant pool of blood that actually has a few humans standing somewhat uneasily in it. It's meant to be boiling. Look at them, one demon shouts. I could just set them on fire again, another says awkwardly, making the humans look quite alarmed. No, it's the principle of the matter. This should be fixed by now, the first demon shouts. Look, it's on the list. You dragging me down here to look at your lukewarm lake of blood just takes me away from the things I'm meant to be fixing and just makes this take longer, the demon with the clipboard groans. You drive past slowly and quietly as the angry demons start going on about falling standards these days, and behind him one of the humans tries to quietly edge out of the definitely not boiling pool of blood. You guess hell freezing over still messes things up for a while. Some demons seem to have taken the disturbance in stride as you pass a group of humans tied up as several demons perform deliberately bad theater to them and repeatedly demand audience participation and keep forgetting their lines. Off to the side, wherever these humans are meant to be tortured, is still clearly frozen over, but you guess the demons are making best as they can. You kind of regret being on the outside now. You wonder what Solux thinks of all of this. After a while, the areas clearly designated for torture peter out, and you're left driving through a barren wasteland. The place feels hollow and dead, and dust blows across the floor. Perhaps this place is hotter, but now it just feels wrong. Uneasy grows in you again now that you're without distraction. The card was death. You know that can mean a lot of things, some of them good, but it didn't feel good to you. And there's nothing you can do, though, only ride in this car to this vault of secrets and wait. Eventually, a multi-sided structure comes into sight. It reminds you more of government buildings like the Pentagon than it does any demonic design. Once you get close, the car stops, and just behind you, the sunroof opens. Hey, we have a plan. June, come here, Terezi hisses. You hear June shift next to you on the roof of the car, and then Terezi's hand and forearm stick out of the sunroof, fully visible. She grabs something and yanks, making June yelp. Ow, that hurt! June hisses at her. Suck it up. Carcat, we need one of your glass feather things too, but we need to be pretty specific about it. So lean back over the sunroof and then take your wings out inside the car, Terezi whispers to you. You consider the space of your wings in the inside of the car. That seems like a bad idea space-wise, you say delicately. Just get down here, Terezi says sharply, and instead of giving you time to do what she says, she just reaches up and grabs the back of your sweater and pulls you down onto the roof of the car and the open sunroof with a thump. Terezi, you really didn't need to... No, fine. Carcat, it's just me. I need to look through your feathers, if that's okay. Mom thinks she can make a charm from you and June that'll let us carry this invisibility with us as we go, Rose explains quietly. Sure, why not? You sigh and unfold your wings. Both of them bang against the inside walls of the car, and you feel a warm hand pressing into one from roughly the same direction, and you can hear an irritated demonic cursing. You must have nearly hit Solux. You stay put laying down on the stop of the car and try not to feel weird or awkward as Rose's fingers carefully cart through your glass feathers. She's talking quietly to Roxy and pausing every now and then to single out one feather before moving on. You're glad that you're invisible outside of the car because you're sure that your face looks dumb right now. You can't help it. Having your wings petted just feels nice and soothing, even though they're glass and metal now. Eventually, they seem to settle in a specific feather, and Rose carefully works it free from whatever holds them to it. Or whatever holds them to you. It's not like it hurts in the way getting a hair pulled out does, poor June, but it feels odd. It's discomfort more than anything. Soon enough, the feather is plucked out fully, and you shudder. There's an odd sensation of your feathers moving to stand up like they did when you were a little bird that got all fluffed up when you were sleepy. You shake yourself off and hear Solux complain. You must have nearly got him with that move. You fold your wings away and sit back up. You can hear the people inside talking, but when you look down, Solux is right there, visible through the open sunroof. Getting in here there is kind of a production, he explains. I guess the magic on the door is complicated, June guesses. Yeah, but when you get close, the world goes all labyrinth-like, he says. You look at the seemingly simple path to the door with some skepticism. It did look a little too easy. Hold on, a labyrinth like the maze or like the movie? June asks. The nice thing about the inside of the car being visible to you right now is that you get to see Solux, a person with 4 eyes, roll all of them dramatically at that. Yes, June, the path there will be just like the movie. You'll have to wear a weird white ball gown and deal with the Goblin King trying to seduce you as you deal with creepy puppets. Actually, knowing bro, that's probably not entirely out of the realm of possibility, Solux says with a grimace at the last part. See? I ask the sensible questions, June proclaims. My ass you do, Solux scoffs. What ass? June retorts immediately. Hey, Solux protests. As much as I'd love to hear that, we're done. Let's go. Rose says. She steps out of the car with the air around her shimmering blue and red in a way that'd make you think Solix was doing something if it wasn't for his current lack of magic. Wait, June's magic often seems pretty blue, and yours comes out red when you're not doing obvious rose-powered shit with it. Is this something running on both of you? It should protect us if we stay close enough together and close to you two, Rose explains and holds up her wrist to show a strip of ribbon with a sliver of glass stitched onto it, and what you suspect might be June's hair. There's also very minute writing on the ribbon itself that is no doubt outlining what the spell does. The range isn't great, but it's what we have, Roxy agrees as she gets out after Rose. Everyone else proceeds to get out of the car, and when they're all out, you put it away. How did you manage to follow me last time? This is Jake. I read Jade. How did you manage to follow me last time? Jake asks as you walk towards the building where Dave ought to be. I was very small and quiet, Snake, and your body then didn't have any eyes, Solix answers, though it's obvious he doesn't enjoy having to talk to Jake. Well, you don't have to sneak around him now, and this isn't so... Terezi stops talking as the world around your group warps and shifts into a maze that stretches up into every which way, ignoring gravity and physics alike. Were you about to say that this isn't so bad? Rose asks flatly. You stare up in despair at the seemingly endless maze between you and the building. This is going to take a while. In my defense, this is a lot like the movie Labyrinth. I was right on that, June says after a moment's pause, making Solix elbow her hard. Shit, another thing in your way. You hope Dave can hold on for the time it'll take for you to get there. End of chapter. Woo! Woo-woo. Bada bing, bada boom. Ugh. Oh my goodness, we're so close. Tomorrow's 43, though I do not know if we will be doing a chapter tomorrow because I have an exhibition that I have to attend for the end of my semester. So I will let you guys know, or I'll keep you updated. I'll post if you're in the Unda, I'll post in the little AU book club channel if I'll be streaming tomorrow. If not, we'll do chapter 43 on Monday, and then 44 on Tuesday, and then, in theory, 45 on Wednesday. And that'll be the end. New exhibition? Yeah. It's for the graduating class. So, but I will keep you guys updated. The exhibit's at 6, and I don't know how long we'll be there. So, yeah. But, if not tomorrow, then for sure Monday. We're so close to the end. We really are. We're, like, really, really close. Oh my goodness. And I am not going to stay after stream for too long because I gotta go to Walgreens to get food before they close, and it is 10:43 and they close at midnight. And I don't want to wait too long because I'm a hungry little guy. So I appreciate you all hanging around and watching the stream. I will see you all either tomorrow or Monday. And yeah. I hope you all have a very, 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 very lovely night, as usual. And I will see you all then. Good night, guys. Bye-bye. Have a lovely rest of your night.